I'll give you a little bit of a picture of what I did. So I was military. Military definitely is team building. There is no type of networking involved. There is no type of social. In fact, they discourage, or it seems like nowadays everybody's got Facebook. We weren't allowed to have social media of any kind. You weren't allowed to say where you were or what you posted. It's completely the opposite of what, you guys probably grew up, some younger ones like Mo, probably grew up living his whole life on social media. So, but what I did is I grew up in a team because I joined the military at 17, super early. I joined at 16, had to wait to go to basic till 17 because it's illegal to ship out to basic at 16. And then I just instantly became part of a team. A team that, yes, had some corresponding people that tell you what to do and stuff like that, but a team that cared really a lot about the other 5 to 10 guys in your small team. And we all had different abilities and different skill sets. I was a medic. There was guys responsible for shooting people, guys responsible for calling people on the radio, all of which things that I wasn't specifically good at. We had cross training. I could do a little bit of that. But in the military, it was all just being on a team. Then I realized very quickly, I got hurt in Iraq, came back, thought I was going to be in the military till I retired, was medically retired, and realized, I probably better go do something else. And got into business at that point. And so canvassing was a big deal for me, right? So cable sales, door-to-door, internet, stuff like that. Had over 700 reps work for me in about a 5-year period. Huge amounts of turnover, right? So then I transitioned to what I do now with solar, and it finally has clicked. And I think what the big difference is the fact that now I fully understand how to optimize a team. That's the one thing I do better than, I would say, anybody I know. So is by making people I feel like they're on my team. So when I do business with somebody and I partner with somebody in a long-term fashion, it's something that I don't jump into lightly. I may spend 6 months to a year vetting somebody that I'm going to do business with, because even when it's a whole nother company, they're now on my team, and that's how I treat them. And so I don't have a global impact. I don't have a network impact. I don't have a self-impact, obviously, anymore. But what I do is I'm really good at optimizing the team. So let me rewind a little bit. A lot of us grew up in door-to-door. And one of the big trainings that I took to heart in door-to-door is replicate yourself. Sam tried to do it. He mentioned it for a couple years there. He tried to just replicate himself. Did anyone else that did door-to-door, was that the fundamental growth factor for you guys? Because I know in my industry it was. Just replicate self, recruit, train them just like you, perform just like you, pitch just like you, act just like you, wear the same swag as you, go to the same bar as you, go to the same restaurant as you, go on the same fad diet as you. It's all about creating this culture of everyone being the same, and that's what team was, right? But we had 300% turnover. And every single time I see a guy that's doing awesome, he's hitting 100% to what I think his goal is, he's looking at me saying, well, I'm not him yet. I'm not him. So they quit. It definitely demoralizes people when you're in a culture that says, be like me. Be like me. Another common thing when you talk about duplicating yourself is you try to force people into boxes that they're never meant to be in. So and this really comes back from probably 20 years ago on, this whole duplicate yourself culture where everyone's the same. Vivint's huge about this, and they do it successfully, but everyone's wearing the same clothes. They're acting the same way. They cheer in the meetings the same way. Every single thing is strategic, but what's happening is you're washing out tons of good people that don't fit into that mold. Sam said the first 2 years you were in, you had almost everybody wash out of your teams. Was it because Sam was bad at his job? No, he's probably really good at his job. And there's probably people on your team that were good, but they weren't as good as you, and they weren't you. And what they realize when they go home is, well, I'm not Sam Taggart. I'm never going to be Sam Taggart. So they get bummed out. Imagine the people that work for you now. Let's fast forward. So if I try to act that way right now, and I said, everybody needs to own a solar company, and we see this in the EPC model in solar right now, is that everybody can go start your own brand. Everybody wants to be a Mike O'Donnell. They want to go out, get an EPC relationship, start their own company. That's a pretty destructive concept. When you're saying, be like me, what you're saying is, leave my company and go do it somewhere else. Because they're never going to be you. And so you have to accentuate the differences between everyone. Some people absolutely have a certain skill. So when I thought back to the military, I thought that didn't have anything to do with sales. Until recently, I had no concept that any of my military experience impacted any of running a company, because the military is ran poorly. It's inefficient. They waste money. They waste personnel's time. They're just saying, hurry up and wait. You know, if that's applied to business, your business is going to fail. Like if all you're doing is having meetings and spending money and doing stuff like that, it's never going to work. What I did realize really affected me was when I think about a team, I definitely thought about the fact that I was a medic. I wasn't the best shot. I wasn't the guy that even knew how to operate the radio, really. I was pretty bad at it. But it didn't matter because we all knew our position, we all knew our place, and I never thought like, man, I'm gonna work out harder to be that guy. No, I need to be a good medic, you know, and I need to do that really, really well. And I was really secure in my place in the Army. So it worked really, really well. What happens in business so often is whether you come out and say it or not, you look for people like you to recruit, to hire, to train. You try to make them you. And what happens is you strip away their identity. And when you do that, you no longer have a team. That's not a team at all. That's a whole bunch of you running around that are not as good as you. Like there's something about you guys that you do well. Brandon, I identify with the fact that he says, I'm an awesome recruiter. This is the plan. And most of the people I work with don't do it as well as I do. And I struggle getting them to adopt, you know, some of these things. So I have to work hard. We have to simplify it. We have to do this because it overwhelms some people. That's what happens when, you know, if I was to pull in, say, one of my sales managers and say, hey, I really want you to be me. I really want to train you every day on how to operate a company, how to look at balance sheets and figure out if they're a good idea, how to run other reports. It's going to stress them out, right? And the vision's not the same vision. Like, I can be the only person that owns equity in my company. I'm never going to give up equity in my company. So giving them a vision that they're someday going to own my company is faulty. They know it's a lie. It's like when I did door knocking and the manager pulled up, and I had always been pretty poor. Even in the military, you don't make very much money. And he pulls up, I forget what it was, a type of Mercedes, I think an S550, you know, so a $100,000 car with 24-inch rims on it, had switched out his seats to some dumb seats that said Gucci on them, you know, but that was the idea. He said, look, guys, I'm making $300,000 a year. You guys can make $300,000 a year too. And it came across as so dishonest to me. I thought, dude, you got 30 guys working for you. You really think I'm going to be the guy at the top of the pyramid instantly? No. If he would have came to me and said, let me help you make $100,000 this year, I would have absolutely respected him. And so all of us ran towards that goal to be that guy. And I was the only one after probably a year that still was with the company. When I look back at the people that worked for me, over all the years that I've been recruiting and training, out of 700 people that did canvassing for me, I had another 150 if you count direct employees when I was at ADT. How many do you think are still with me? And I feel like I'm a pretty good boss. I don't yell at people. I don't break stuff. I don't neglect them. I don't do anything like that. How many people do you think, treating them like, encourage them to be me, how many people do you think are still with me? Zero? I have 9. So I'm actually really proud of that. For a long time, I thought, what am I doing wrong with retention? This has got to be on me. How to become a better manager, how to become a better owner and just a team leader.